This is the top 10 scary human mutations you won't believe. Starting off this list, and at number 10 we have LRP5 mutation. Back in 1994, scientists discovered a genetic mutation known as LRP5. This is a gene that regulates the production and release of protein, which means your body could produce more protein into your bones or less protein into your bones. It plays a major role in your bone density. Well, this mutation was discovered when a man was in a serious car crash, but after he got x-rays, there didn't seem to be any fractures or broken bones when there should have been. Because of the LRP5 mutation, this man's bones were actually 8 times more dense than the average person. Also, it has been discovered that this has been genetically found in this guy's family tree. Like, his family members have this condition. This man has family members who was unable to get a hip surgery because doctors were unable to screw anything into the bones.
Coming into number 9, we have Mermaid Syndrome. Mermaid Syndrome, as it is colloquially known, is something called areonomelia. It's a rare deformity that sees the person's legs fused together like a mermaid tail. The condition is extremely rare and usually goes hand in hand with kidney and bladder issues. Many babies are still born with the syndrome, and the oldest known sufferer, Tiffany Yorks, died aged 27.
Number 8 brings us to a high tolerance for cold temperatures. Would you guys believe me if I told you that there are some populations on Earth that are able to live in sub-zero temperatures without feeling cold? Well, it's true, and I definitely don't have that superpower. Inuits and other populations that have lived in intense cold temperatures have adapted to this harsh way of life. Their bodies are better suited to adjusting to these harsh climates than people who have to live in the milder temperatures, so it's actually pretty impressive. They can maintain body temperatures without shivering, and they have fewer sweat glands on their body. Considering that our bodies are much more suited to adjusting to heat than cold, it's actually quite impressive that these people have actually been able to live and thrive in freezing temperatures. I for sure wouldn't be able to last like a minute in Siberia, let alone live there my entire life. I've gone into some hot tubs that I found too cold. Moving into number 7, we have PROTEUS syndrome, which is a very rare condition that causes human bones, skin, and other tissues to overgrow. This syndrome is also known as the elephant man syndrome. Yeah, a lot of you guys probably heard of it. There have just been over 200 cases of the syndrome worldwide in history, and saying that right now, it's estimated that just 120 people with that condition are still alive. With almost 8 billion people in the world, that is extremely rare. In 2011, researchers were able to determine the cause of the PROTEUS syndrome. Patients with this condition have a mutation in there. Well, the mutation is the AKT1 gene. It's pretty much a gene that controls your body's growth factors. The most famous case of this condition is Joseph Merrick. This is the guy right here. He is known as the original Elephant Man. He became famous when he was seen in freak shows. Merrick was able to live with this condition for 27 years.
Coming into number 6, we have Elephant Syndrome. Most people have heard of the Elephant Man, but what people in the 1800s didn't know about Joseph Merrick was that he was actually suffering from PROTEUS syndrome. This is a genetic disorder and a gene mutation. The mutant gene causes horrifying disfigurations, leading body parts to grow rapidly and asymmetrically.
The sprinter mutation races in at number 5. So we all have a gene called ACTN3, but there are certain variations of the gene that helps our bodies to make protein that controls, the fast twitch muscle fibers. These cells are actually responsible for causing our muscles to quickly tense and flex up while we're running or, weightlifting. But not everyone is gifted with this supersonic speed. Scientists just recently discovered that elite sprinters and power athletes, well, they actually have 2 mutations of this gene. This is what gives them the ability to run as fast as the Flash or Sonic. Okay, not really that fast, but maybe. Well, the mutation is called the sports gene, and if you have it, you should definitely consider a career in sprinting, or you can just enjoy the fact that you can get to places, a lot faster than most of the population. Next up, number 4, we have another very rare mutation of the hands and feet. Well, this right here is a picture of a 6-year-old boy from China. His name is Li Jinping, and he was born with 15 fingers and 16 toes, and as you can see on his hands, a lot of his fingers are actually fused together. The condition is known as polydactyl, which just means someone who is born with one or more extra fingers. Doctors at the Shangjiang Hospital of China Medical University in Shenyang was able to successfully remove all of the additional fingers and toes in a surgical operation that lasted more than 5 hours.
Coming into number 3, we have Werewolf Syndrome. Officially known as HYPERTRICHOSIS or Odour syndrome, this genetic mutation means that sufferers grow abnormal amounts of body hair over their entire body.
Next up, just like that, number 2, we have super strength. Some people already have beast mode muscles due to lack of myostatin. This is a protein that tells muscles, stop growing. This is like having a natural steroid in your body, except it wouldn't show up on blood tests. There are animals who lack this protein, so they grow large, muscular bodies that have little fat on them. But in humans, this mutation allows them to reach a muscle mass that is double that of an average person. And they even stay this way. They don't need to fork out money on gym memberships. I'm pretty jealous of that. This is definitely a mutation that I would want to have. Finally, number 1, we have POLYCORIA, aka double pupils. I don't know why I got freaked out when I was doing the research for this one. I was seeing all of these pictures. It's just not a normal thing. In fact, it's super rare. It's a pathological condition where one of the eyes have multiple pupil openings in the iris. Let me show you guys a few examples of people who have this condition and the way it can appear in someone's eyes. First up, we have this. Here we can see a double pupil, but it's kind of not even there, it's very small, and I'm not sure how much lighter objects that this person's able to see. I think it was taken before dilation, because take a look at this picture right here, this is the same eye, so when dilated, the pupil, it kind of looks normal. Here's another image of a double pupil. This one is more obvious, and here's what it looks like dilated. The pupil is absolutely massive.
Coming into number 10, we have the man with the melted face. Huang Chengkai has been described in global media as the man with the melted face because he suffers from a tumour known as neofibromatosis. Sadly for the Chinese national, his tumours were left untreated for 30 years, which meant that his deformity spiralled out of control. Luckily, the Chinese government stepped in and offered him surgical reductions. He has now had 5, which has reduced his 15-kilogram tumour. Although sadly, it will always continue to grow back, so he's always going to need surgeries. Tumours, of course, stem from cell mutations.
Up next, at number 9, we have the sleeping mutation. Were you ever forced to pull an all-nighter because you procrastinated until the last minute and then you realize, oh boy, there's a huge exam tomorrow? Well, I bet you all have. I know I have many times, and I'm sure we've all hated our lives for this decision we've made. But imagine if you were blessed with a mutation that caused you to feel totally energized on just 4 hours of sleep. I mean, Elon Musk does it somehow. Well, could you imagine all of the extra hours you could be spending on playing video games, homework each night, or watching YouTube videos? Well, scientists are only recently discovering that some people have the HDEC2 gene, which basically gives them the ability to live on little to no sleep at all. I mean, I wish I had this mutation. I hope one day we're able to take this mutation and put it in a supplement pill, because I would for sure buy those pills to not have to sleep again. I feel tired all the time, and I would just accomplish so much more in my life. Next up, number 8, we have epidermodysplasia verruciformis, which is otherwise known as Mermaid Syndrome. Well, it is a very rare autoimmune recessive hereditary skin disorder that is actually associated with skin cancer.
2, 3, 4, 5, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is the thumb. It should be the thumb, and some of the tip of the finger on the surface. I can see that.
This is a very debilitating human mutation that is extremely rare that results in uncontrolled HPV infections that result in the growth of what looks like a very scaly bark, from a tree. There are no treatments for this because it's so rare and it doesn't affect enough people, to get funding behind it. There's only a handful of people in the world with this very rare condition.
Coming into number 7, we have Cyclopia. Cyclopia is the name given to the congenital disorder that creates cyclopses. No, they aren't stuff of Greek legends. Some cyclopses have existed in real life. There haven't been many living cyclopses, as usually Cyclopia in babies results in miscarriages or stillbirths. As I said though, most human cyclopses do die within a few days. However, one cyclops goat in India is still living. Studying this goat may help humans with the genetic mutation survive in the future.
An incredible memory mutation brings us to number 6. There are actual people in real life that have the ability to remember every single single detail of every day that they've ever lived. For me, I don't remember what I did just before I pressed record on this video. But you know what, I don't know if I would want to remember every painful detail of my life, but still, this is pretty incredible. They're able to recall what they ate for dinner on, you know, a certain day 10 years ago. People with hyperthymesia basically have a super memory. I think for me, I'm super forgetful. I don't know what that's called. So far, there are 25 confirmed cases in the world, and these people have a larger part of the brain that is responsible for processing and storing memories. I'm actually pretty jealous of them. I mean, think about all the knowledge and facts that they will be able to store in their brain. I would get my on Jeopardy. You would never need to use a dictionary ever again, and you would never forget someone's birthday. I've been pretty bad with that. I mean, when's my birthday? Is it coming up?
Coming in at number 4, we have Harlequin Ichthyosis. This genetic mutation is pretty heartbreaking. It results in thick diamond-shaped skin clumps separated by cracks. It also affects the shape of the eyes, nose and mouth, as well as often limiting bodily movements. Sadly for sufferers, there is no cure, and the mutation affects around 1 in every 300,000 births. One sufferer, American Stephanie Turner, said that people think that she's been burned in a fire.
Unbreakable Bones climbs up on our list at number 3. And I think I have this ability. I've never broken a bone before. Okay, where's wood? I gotta start knocking on wood. Well, do you think that Wolverine's ability to super heal fast is impressive? Well, it is, but there's actually a superpower in real life that's pretty similar to it, and it's called Unbreakable Bones. The LRP5 gene is responsible for many bone injuries such as osteoporosis, but when this gene is paired with a mutation, it can have the opposite effect. A family in Connecticut have super strong bones that are extremely resistant to breaking. So if you're able to understand what is happening inside of their body, well, maybe one day this mutation could be the cure of osteoporosis and other bone diseases. Alright, number 2, we have alien hand syndrome. That could be due to a mutation or something neurologically. Alien hand syndrome, I'm sure a lot of you guys have heard of this one. Well, it's when your limbs, they just start moving on their own. Like you would randomly just raise your hands up in the air, or you would pick up something and you didn't even tell your brain to do that. People who have alien hand syndrome, in which I can't believe that this is actually the name for it, like the scientific name for it, well, it mostly affects people's left hand. Well, that kind of sucks for me because I am left-handed. Right now, there is no cure for the alien hand syndrome.
Finally, coming into number 1, we have a mutation that causes 2 heads. Officially known as polycephaly, this is a birth defect usually involving a parasitic twin. This is the case for Abby and Brittany Hansel, famous 27-year-old twins from Minnesota in America. The pair share one body but have separate hearts, stomachs, spines and lungs, and, you know, 2 heads. Interestingly, they have one set of reproductive organs, so if they fell pregnant, they would both be the mother.
Resistance to HIV breaks onto our list at number 10. People can be infected with many different bacteria and viruses on a daily basis. One of the most devastating viruses known to man is HIV. Since the 1980s, many people have been directly affected by this disease, but not everyone was exposed to it got sick. I mean, how could this be? Scientists are carefully studying these people, and there might be something in their DNA that actually causes them to be resistant to the HIV infection and other illnesses. So hopefully we are able to replicate this resistance, because it would be amazing if humans became immune, you know, from all forms of viruses and bacteria. This could be life-changing, that's for sure. And at number 9, we have the MFS syndrome, which is the Marfan syndrome. It is a genetic disorder that affects the connective tissues in your body. It actually affects people differently. People who have this syndrome typically have very flexible joints, but it also comes with scoliosis, serious complications involving the heart and aorta, and it also can affect the lungs, eyes, bones, and covering of the spinal cord. 25% of this condition is inherited from a parent, while 25% of the time it is a new mutation. Right now there is no known cure for Marfan syndrome, but there are treatments that help prolong life. Before preventative treatments, the average lifespan was between about 30 and 40 years old, and now people with this condition can have a normal life expectancy.
Coming into number 8, we have tree syndrome. Tree syndrome, as it has been called, is a rare genetic condition caused by an inactivating pH mutation in either the EVER1 or EVER2 genes. The condition means that a person grows scaly macules and papules which look like tree roots. The most famous sufferer is Didi Koswara, who died aged 42 in 2016.
Resistance to poison is next up on our list at number 7. Okay, would you believe that there are certain people out there that can literally drink enough poison to kill an ox, but they walk away without any damage, whatsoever? If I had this mutation, I don't think I would even put it to the test. I wouldn't be like, alright, let's take this to the limit. Let's see how far I can get. And when I die, that was my limit. Well, it just seems like a bad idea to drink a bottle of rat poison. I mean, no thanks. I'd rather drink a can of Coke, but that's just me. Well, in a small town in Argentina, there are residents that are literally immune to poison. Every day they drink from a water supply, and it's laced with 80 times the amount of arsenic that is needed to kill a single person. The population has been drinking from this water source for thousands of years, and as a result, they've developed a mutation to the gene AS3MT, which helps them flush away any harmful substances out of their system. Number 6, we have progeria, also known as Hutchinson-Gilford Progeria Syndrome, or HGPS for short. It's a very generic condition that causes the child's body to age fast. People who suffer from progeria are said to age about 8 times the normal rate. With that being said, most people don't live past the age of 13 years old. There's a very famous girl who has progeria. She is a YouTuber. Her name is Adelie Rose, and she's one of the most inspirational people ever.
Hey guys, it's me, Adelia. Welcome back to my channel. Today, I'm going to be doing things I do in my...
She's pretty funny, and she has such a big personality and such a positive look on life.
Like fish odor syndrome at number 5, generates unusual smells. Fish odor syndrome is officially known as Trimethylaminuria. This is a genetic disorder where the body cannot break down trimethylamiine and comes from a mutated FMO3 gene. Unfortunately, this means that the sufferer smells. One sufferer, 36-year-old Kelly Fadoe White from the UK, talked to the Daily Mail about her struggle, saying that her scent is fishy and oniony. She said that she has to work nights because her work colleagues complain of her smell.
And now number 4, crystal clear underwater vision. As far as we know, most animals have eyes that are designed for seeing things underwater or on land. It's usually not both. We also know that humans' eyes are better suited for seeing things, out of the water. Because when we try to look underwater, everything looks pretty blurry, and for me, everything looks black because I swim with my eyes closed. And that's because water has a similar density to the fluid in our eyes. But would it surprise you that a group of people known as the Moken have the ability to see perfectly underwater even at 75 feet deep? I mean, this is absolutely bizarre. It's pretty insane. They spend about 8 months of the year on boats or even stilt houses, and they only return on land to gather essential supplies. So now their eyes are capable of changing shape when they're underwater, which allows them to see a lot easier. Moving into number 3, let's talk about HYPERTRICHOSIS, aka the Werewolf Syndrome. This is real.
Today, Larry Gomez is a minor celebrity. He's made his appearance his trademark, and he's begun to feel comfortable in his skin.
This condition causes the human body to have an abnormal, amount of hair growth all over their body. Hypertriosis can also be present at birth or even developed later in life. Julia Pastrana was one of the most famous people with this condition. Here she is right here, and she was a part of many freak shows and became famous in the 1800s. Scientists believe this is caused by mutation of the A22 band of chromosome 8, meaning that this may not be inherited through the genes. This could happen to anyone, but it's extremely rare.
Very strange at number 2, we have tail syndrome. Tail syndrome, or a vestigial tail as it is known, is a mutation that means that some humans are born with extra vertebrae in their back, making it look as if they have a tail. One man in India actually had an 18cm tail removed in October 2016. This has been called the longest human tail ever. The 18-year-old Indian guy didn't see medics until he was into his late teens because of the social stigma attached to the mutation. I for one actually think I could get on board with a tail.
Coming into number 1 on this list, we have the people who don't feel pain. These people can literally put their hands right on a burning stove, or they can cut themselves with the knife. For me, I got a little paper cut, I gotta go to the hospital. I'm crying, I can't stop crying. But granted, both of these things will probably leave a scar, but they aren't able to physically feel any pain. So how is this possible? These incredible people have a rare genetic mutation called congenital analgesia, which causes them to produce more endorphins in the brain. But don't be fooled into thinking that this is an amazing superpower to have. In reality, the ability to feel pain is super important because feeling pain is pretty crucial to surviving. Sure, it'd be amazing to never feel pain, but if you don't know about an injury, how are you supposed to fix it? The pharmaceutical industry is trying to capitalize on this mutation, but it can take years for it to become available to the public.